Hey everyone, Leo Bond here. I'm back again today for the Best Buy Canada plug-in blog, and this time it's with a look at the Traxxas Ford GT, a fully licensed, authentic replica of the real Ford GT, and in this fairly brief video, we're going to try to cover some of the GT's major features, but we'll mostly try to emphasize some of the things that this model brings to the table that aren't necessarily present in every Traxxas vehicle. But first things first, it simply has got to be said that this car is absolutely stunning. The body, which brilliantly and beautifully mimics the look of the real-life Ford GT, has a variety of molded-in details, such as the tail lights and all of the different body contours that make the real GT such a sleek design. And the parts that aren't molded in, such as the headlights for example, are only decals, but they too show off a very high level of detail. And it's not just the GT's body that's super detailed. The wheels have lug nuts and brake pads molded in, and all kinds of shiny chrome and treaded rubber tires, and you know, it all just comes together to make what is pretty close to the perfect Traxxas model. It's certainly one of the slickest RC vehicles that I've ever seen. Now, among the GT's major features are a new state-of-the-art chassis. It's called the 4Tech 2.0, and it has a low center of gravity and a very smooth underside to protect the drivetrain components. And this makes the GT ride extremely low, so it's probably best suited to smooth, flat surfaces like paved parking lots or maybe tennis courts. And I actually took this one to a relatively underutilized parking lot out near the airport, where I figured I'd have plenty of free space to work with, and I have to say I was extremely satisfied with how the Traxxas Ford GT performed. So not only is this thing a beauty to look at, but it's also very capable thanks to features like its shaft-driven all-wheel drive system, and also its use of the Traxxas Stability Management or TSM system that ensures excellent handling on smooth and slippery surfaces such as wet pavement or loose dirt, which is another area that I actually took this thing to for testing. Now, unfortunately, this car really didn't like that type of surface. Maybe if the gravel hadn't been quite so fine, things might have worked out a little bit better, but the really loose stuff that I drove it on kept causing all sorts of rocks to get spun up into the undercarriage of the car, and this really caused all kinds of problems, such as a rock getting caught up in my steering mechanism that kept me from being able to turn the wheels until I actually physically dislodged it. And you know, that actually happened a couple of different times while I was driving on the loose gravel, so I pretty much gave that up after about 10 minutes, and I just really wouldn't recommend driving this car on anything other than very smooth paved surfaces. And you know, you also want an area that's as free from rocks and other debris as possible, because as I said, this car does ride very, very low, and its wheels are also small, so even a fairly tiny rock, something maybe half the size of a marble, can give it problems when it gets directly in its path. So just something to be wary of there with the GT. But anyway, for the most part, I really found that the Ford GT handled extremely well on the paved parking lot, and I was very, very impressed with it. And you know, it was really a whole lot of fun to watch as well. Other features of the GT include fully waterproof electronics for all-weather driving and a Traxxas 2.4 GHz TQI transmitter. And what that little I in there means is that the transmitter is compatible with the Traxxas Link app, which is available for both iOS and Android-based devices. You just have to go in there and download it yourself to your smartphone or tablet, and then you'll be able to do all sorts of fun things like track your telemetry readings and view a digital dashboard, all right in your device, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. It is pretty cool, although I don't personally go in for most of that kind of thing myself. However, if you do want to use the app, you'll be able to fine-tune your vehicle for a more optimal driving performance, and I guess that effectively adds a whole nother layer of play value to the Traxxas Ford GT that not all Traxxas models necessarily have, which is great for those that really want to get the most out of their model. Anyway, providing the GT's power is a Titan 12T motor with the XL5 electronic speed control for a smoother overall ride and more powerful performance, and it can actually get all the way up to 48 kilometers an hour or about 30 miles per hour. But the one thing that the GT doesn't have is an included battery pack and charging system. So that is an extra expense that you're going to have to cover yourself. A little bit of a drawback there, but certainly not the end of the world, especially if you already have other Traxxas vehicles and batteries on hand. Now, what is cool is that Traxxas, for this model, has eliminated the very annoying cotter pin battery retention system in favor of a new quick-release lever system that makes it so much easier to swap the batteries in and out. And not only does this new system get rid of those troublesome cotter pins, but it also allows for different sized batteries to be used because the amount of clearance space for the battery can now be adjusted between 23 and 26 millimeters, which allows you to use a larger and more powerful battery if you wish, and all you have to do to keep the battery firmly in place is to flip that retention lever around for the best possible fit. So I definitely appreciate this development. I always found it really hard on the fingers trying to get those infernal cotter pins in and out, so I'm really glad to be rid of those. Anyway, there are a few additional specs that I'd just quickly like to mention, such as the GT's dual steering bell cranks with optimized geometry and its fully tunable oil-filled ultra shocks. And there's even a set of adjustable body mounts included in the box that allow you to easily install different sized bodies if you want to. However, I don't want to get too specs heavy here, so I'll just wrap things up with what some may consider to be the most significant drawback of this particular model, and that is likely to be the limitations on where you can actually drive it. After all, it's not a monster truck, so you're not going to be going off-road with this thing. But then again, the real Ford GT isn't meant for off-roading either, so at least this model is being true to the original. So anyway, I think that's where we'll leave off for now. I certainly think it's safe to say that the Traxxas Ford GT fits nicely into the mid-tier range of the Traxxas RC lineup, and it also does come in a couple of additional colors. There's a liquid red model as well as a liquid gray model. That one actually looks almost black to me. And of course, the GT is intended for users ages 14 and up, which I believe includes me, so I most definitely like it. Now, if you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please give it a like or a share, and subscribe for more similar content if you're so inclined. I will be back with more toy and tech gadget reviews before you know it, so I hope to see you back here for the next one. Until then, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Have an excellent day, and I'll see you soon.